society is very focused on the psychological aspects of transformation, and they forget that there's a nervous system underneath that's often contributing to a lot of what's going on in our mind anyway. Mindset work is kind of like just putting a band-aid on like a snapped leg and hoping it will heal. The thing that people have to get into their head is breathing affects state. It's almost like having the remote control to your nervous system. If we can actually consciously control those parts of us, then there's probably a reason why. When you can master your state and implement strategy, that's when you win. And this type of breath work is very fascinating, the way it works with the brain. Breathing as a tool to actually master their state so they can get the most out of their physiology and their psychology. And so there is a really simple thing that you can actually do. All you do is step one.
All right. Hey, guys. Welcome. I'm super excited to be here with Chris Payten. Chris has built a seven-figure business certifying coaches in breathwork. So certifying them in breathwork to be able to get their clients better results. And he also teaches this so that you can regulate your state better and use this to get better results for yourself in your business too. And so I'm really, really pumped because he's going to do a little bit of a training for us around how to deal with stress and overwhelm in business so that you can obviously manage your state so you can create more success in your business. And then you can use this with your clients as well to be able to get them better results as well. And so, welcome, Chris. I'm super excited to do this with you. Would you like to just give everyone a little bit of an introduction of who you are and what you do?
Yeah, amazing. Thanks for having me on, Sarah. Very excited to be here and provide some value today. So my name is Chris Payten. I am the co-founder alongside my wonderful fiancée, Shani, of Infinity Training and Coaching. And Sarah hit the nail on the head. We essentially provide breathwork certifications to coaches and give them another tool alongside other modalities that they may have to help them really enhance their client results. And we started this business about, when was it? April of 2024. So it's taken off very quickly, and we've sort of had an extension of that work where I guess after certifying them and giving them the tool, we actually support them to grow and scale their businesses as well. And we're really passionate about helping coaches, I guess, get out of that one-to-one framework and see how they can do more of a one-to-many approach. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, and yeah, excited to get into it.
I love that. Super excited. And I definitely want to ask you some questions a little bit later, just around how you grew so quickly, because I'm sure that there'll be lots of people in here that are, have some questions around maybe the marketing or the sales side of things and how you guys got off the ground so quickly. But to kick off, definitely super excited to address just how to deal with, big emotions and stress and anxiety and overwhelm in business, because definitely the number one thing that I see keeping people stuck is they're just like, oh, I've got all these things to do and I don't know what to do. And then they're focusing on the wrong things and then they're freaking out probably when they don't need to be freaking out, right? And it's just, and then it becomes this big emotional roller coaster and you have these big highs and these big lows and it's up and down and it's quite exhausting, just the process of
Absolutely.
being on the journey. And so I would love to hear like, your take on why breath work and how can we, take control of that.
Yeah, I think breathwork is the key because it's one of those systems in our body that we actually have control over. There's not many systems in our entire human makeup that we can let go and it happens by itself, i.e., breathing, but then also take control of it. And there's only two things, like you can take control of your thoughts to a degree, and you can also take control of your breathing. And I really sat with this. I'm like, well, if we can actually consciously control those parts of us, then there's probably a reason why. And what I found was exploring those two avenues really was the catalyst to being able to help a lot of people transform their lives. And I saw breathwork as a real missing piece in that link because I think society is very focused on, I guess, the psychological aspects of transformation, and they forget that there's a body underneath and a nervous system underneath that's often contributing to a lot of what's going on in our mind anyway. So it was a
Yeah.
big missing piece. I liken it to like an iceberg. A human is like an iceberg. The top part of the iceberg is the smallest part, and that's someone's conscious mind. And then underneath the surface is the biggest part of that iceberg, but you can't see it. And it's often hidden, but that's really what is contributing to that top piece pointing above the water surface. So, if we chopped that top piece off, what happens? Just pop straight back up again. And that's why I think sometimes a lot of mindset work, when it's not done on a regulated nervous system, is kind of like just putting a band-aid on like a snapped leg and hoping it will heal.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. I like that. So I never thought about that, that those are the only two things that you can control, but super powerful when you think about it that way. So what do we do if we're feeling really stressed, really anxious, really overwhelmed? How do we take control of our state?
Yeah, well, your state really is just a reflection of where your nervous system is at. So in the instance of you feeling overwhelmed, what that typically means is you're probably in a fight or flight response. There's probably some sort of threat, whether that's in your head or whether that's externally, signaling the alarm in your body. And what the nervous system wants you to do when you get stressed is move. That's the whole point of fighting and flighting. When you get stressed, you get dumped with stress hormones. They don't make you feel relaxed. They make you feel on edge. They make you feel activated. And so, what I see animals do in the wild really well is when they get fight or flighty, what do? They discharge that energy that's been given to them through stress hormones. But humans, we can sometimes get a bit stuck in thought and freeze up and actually not do anything with that energy. And then we end up storing it in our system, storing it in our system, storing it in our system. And that actually over time creates havoc in people's minds and their bodies. So when it comes to, shifting from overwhelm, the last thing that you should probably do in that moment is try to think about it. You should probably move your body. And then once you've moved your body, maybe do some slow breathing and bring yourself back down into a more functional state.
Yeah, I saw something, and I don't know if this is completely accurate, but it was like something about animals, right? And when an animal is either like it could be like getting attacked or it's running away or something, like it's in an actual fight or flight scenario. After it kind of like, does the thing that it needs to do, it'll have some kind of behavior to like shake off those emotions, right? Whether it's like a wriggle or a shake or whatever, to kind
Yeah,
of like get rid of the energy from
that's
its
right.
body and reset. But we don't really think to do that. We
No.
don't realize that we need to like physically reset, not just sit there and like spin
Yes.
in our head.
Yes, and the physical reset, when we can shift it, and here's the kicker, when you shift your state, you inherently start to think different thoughts and experience different emotions and therefore have different behavioral responses. And so I've really sat with this a lot. I've done a lot of different coaching certifications myself, from body work to NLP, and I've seen a lot in between. And what I've really noticed was that when we can learn how to shift states away from these stressed states, then just inherently we think different, we feel different, we behave differently. So all this time we might be spending up in our heads trying to overanalyze or think about things in a different way or reframe it. If we've got a tiger chasing us under the surface, it ain't going to do shit. Like, it's just not going to stick. And again, like, this is why breath work for us has been the thing that's helped so many people, not even just with their clients, but in their own business too. Because when you're in business, you're going to experience stress. There's going to be uncertainty. There's going to be fear. It's a very spiritual journey going into business. Like, it just exposes all the parts of you and all the
Mm,
wounds. And if you don't have tools to be able to navigate those moments, it can burn you out pretty quick.
yeah.
So it's been just as important for us not to teach this from a healing perspective, but also for, people like yourself and in the group that we're in right now to be able to have these tools to, I guess, improve their performance long term.
Yeah, it's so funny. I saw this quote once and it said that business is the biggest healing journey that
Oh,
you'll go on, right? Because we expose ourselves to all of these fears and insecurities and possible opportunities to be rejected and to be seen failing and to be shown how inadequate we are and not good we are, like all of the opportunity to feel all these intense negative emotions that most people aren't even like putting themselves in the realm of maybe even experiencing those things. So you kind of just go through life kind of sheltered, like if you're not out
yeah,
there doing that stuff. That's crazy.
yeah, yeah. It's very confronting, but also very worth it.
Yeah,
And I wouldn't have it any other way, as hard as it is sometimes.
I like that. So what are your favorite, if we're like, so using breath work, yes. What are your favorite, I guess, ways, right, for someone to be able to regulate or take control of their state? Do you have like favorite ways or I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I think with the breathing world, like, people can get very confused. They're like, "Oh, what breathing exercise is the best one?" And the reality is that when we teach breathwork, we teach it in how it directly influences state. So it's about understanding that all fast breathing exercises will obviously ramp you up. All slow breathing exercises will obviously pull you down. And so it's up to you, which technique you feel you perform best or like best. But the thing that I guess people have to get into their head is breathing affects state. So if we understand that, if we need a boost, we can use fast breathing to come up out of a bit of a shutdown. If we need regulating down, we can use slow breathing techniques. They all do the same thing. And that's where it gets to be really simple for people to understand. So no matter
Yeah.
if it's box breathing, triangle breathing, 2-1 breathing, physiological sigh, pursed lip breathing, like all of those are going to go down on your nervous system. But if you use
Yeah.
some hyperventilation, you want to get a boost, it's going to bring you up. And so
Yeah.
I like to say it's almost like having the remote control to your nervous system. And the real work is actually in starting to understand which state you're in and having that self-awareness so that you can apply the right tool at the right time.
Okay. Yeah. So how do you know? How do you know what
Yeah, good
what state
question.
you know what you need to do?
Symptoms. I mean, like, say, if I asked you, like, how would you know if you were stressed? What do you notice in your body when you're stressed?
You're tight. You're
You're
tense.
tight. Yeah. Maybe your palms sweat. Maybe your heart beats faster. Maybe your breathing becomes more shallow. Maybe your mind's racing. These are very typical signs of an activated nervous system in a stress response. How would you know if you're in more of a shutdown response? If you've experienced too much stress for too long, well, you're probably going to feel depressed. You're probably going to feel lethargic. You're probably going to feel numb. You're probably going to feel like doing the simple things in your life is like trying to move a mountain. That's a
Yeah.
sign of hypo arousal where you're really down. So, what it's about is checking in with yourself and starting to learn what the signs and the symptoms are for you personally, how you respond to stress, and then knowing that that's where you're at and how we can get out of it. So, it's a very personal question because how I experience overwhelm is I will typically have more of a racing heart. That's the first thing I notice. Heart rate's up. Okay, cool. Breathing higher into the chest. They're the two things that I notice. Yeah.
Okay. So how do you help coaches use that with clients then? Because you obviously help people to control their own state, which helps us make better decisions, makes us smarter, right? All that good stuff. And then how do you help them integrate that into what they do?
Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways that you can use breath work. For the most part, it's teaching people how to breathe better on a day-to-day basis. So we do a lot of work around functional breathing in the work that I was just saying before. How can we screen and maybe assess our breathing and see if we are breathing too much, over breathing, breathing too fast, and then do that work to restore balance so that we are in a better state more often. And then on the other side of the fence, we have transformational breath work, which is a whole different game. And it is extremely powerful in helping people release trauma and tension from their system. And so we can use that if we were, I guess, helping people with challenges in their life that may be, emotional and deeply personal. And that might be creating some blocks in them being able to move forward. So for us, from a coaching perspective, it's about instilling the tools in other coaches to know when to use different types of breath work, depending on what they need. And then for ourselves as coaches, it's understanding how we can use it ourselves to make sure that we're showing up the best that we can. And
Yeah.
it really is like an umbrella statement. Like breathwork is not just one thing. We can use it in a variety of different ways depending on what the outcome is. Yeah.
Yeah. I always felt like I was breathing wrong because I don't practice any specific techniques, but I tend to do a lot of just deep belly breathing just whenever I think about it. Like anytime I
Yeah.
think about it, I'll just do it, right? And just be like, just feel more relaxed and feel more chilled out. But I've always thought, oh, you're not doing it right. It's like meditating, right? They're like, you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
You're not doing
Yeah.
it the right way. So I always get like in my head about it, but I'm like, oh, I feel good. So whatever. Um,
Yeah.
but the whole what you just said about like I don't know, I think you said it was like the deeper like transformative
Yeah.
breath work. I've done that once before. And I was in a room and everyone was crying around me, like they were just, and I'm just laying there. And it was quite interesting because I didn't feel like I had any, I guess, anything to grieve or to give up. So I didn't feel emotional. But when you keep doing the breathing, it still changes some like a state in your body. And so I felt like my body was about to start like
Yeah.
fearing of like I was gonna like have an orgasm or something, like like my body was just like gonna start shaking,
Yeah.
which really, really cool. So you teach people to do that with their clients as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you kind of spoke into it perfectly. Like those types of sessions, depending on what's going on for the person, depending on what's under the surface, it's going to be very different. You'll hear crying, you'll hear laughing, you'll hear all sorts of things. Sometimes people screaming. And essentially what's happening there is their nervous system is just discharging attention and emotions that have been held in the system for a while. And this type of breath work is very fascinating the way it works with the brain. It actually, it kind of takes the human brain offline, put it that way. We change our
Mm.
physiology enough to get this guy out of the way. And then because of that, our emotional brain, our limbic system and our reptilian brain, they're a lot more online during one of those sessions. And so it's kind of like people's inhibitions are lowered because they no longer really care about who's around them or what's going on. And
Yeah.
they kind of go back into the animalistic state, as you said before, where they can just shake off tension and cry out, stored emotions and things like that. So very, very powerful work. And, if you are ever going to do it and you're listening, you just need to make sure that if you are going to do it, you make sure you're doing it with someone who knows how to do it, because it can be so effective and so transformative. It can also make things worse for people if it's not done right and held safely.
Yeah. This might be a bit like of an off the cuff question, but it was just
Yeah.
kind of random. So I was thinking, do you think that a similar sort of thing happens when people have sex, right? Because you
Yeah.
hear like people crying
Yeah.
afterward and stuff. So it's like your body just relaxes to the point that your nervous system
Yes.
releases stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Because during breath work like that, and during any of these sorts of in practice, so say like sexual activity, right? Say you're having
Mm.
sex, you know, if you're really in that moment, there's an absence of conscious thought. You're
Mm.
just in the moment. Like there's no, I do this now and I do this now and I do this now, and your mind's not distracted in a million other places. So your brain is actually undergoing a process called transient hyperfrontality. That's a big word, but what that means is the frontal lobes of your brain. So transient, coming and going,
Mm.
hypo, down, frontality, front part of the brain. So what
Okay.
happens is the front part of the brain gets quieter. And as a result, same thing, the other parts of the brain, which are more associated with emotions and the survival instincts and our reproductive sort of instincts, they kick into gear. So people become more animalistic when they fully relax in those situations. They don't think about things as much. And the same thing happens in a breath work, I guess, just on a much deeper scale. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you have any like free resources or guides or trainings or anything that we can share with people if they want to
Yeah.
learn?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've got a free sort of course where you can actually do breath tests, where you can assess your own breathing and see where it's at. I'm happy to share that with you as well. I've got that on some slides as well.
That's super cool. You want to share the slides or you want to?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. How
Yeah,
long? How long have we got?
you can press share screen. You can share.
Cool. How long have we got to go through these slides, roughly?
However long it takes.
We'll go quick.
Yeah, no
Um,
biggie. No biggie.
I've got something at the back here for you. Okay, so let me just share this up, and I'll go through this super quick, and this will probably just tie in everything that I was talking about. Um, but what I've really noticed is that a lot of coaches fail in their businesses, or they don't get to the heights that they probably want to, and it's not for reasons that they think. So the question that I wanted to pose to people when I teach this work is like, why do they not get to that height? And what I've really noticed is it's a couple of things. They focus too much on strategy, which is so important. I'm sure, Jess, Sarah, you're teaching so much strategy inside of your programs. A lot of coaches do, but then they don't focus enough on their state. And this is what we were talking about before. So success happens when you mix them both together. When you can master your state and implement strategy, that's when you win. And what I've noticed is that the number one state sabotager, us being in that state, is actually stress. There's like three guarantees in life, right? You will die, you'll pay tax, and you'll experience stress. You're not going to get out of it. Like no one does. But stress does a lot of shitty things to the body, and your body doesn't know the difference between different types of stress. So this is what happens when we get stressed. We breathe faster. And the body goes, okay, well, unemployment, work stress, illness, grief, bullying, divorce, health problems, chronic pain, new baby, fear. This is all stress. And then what happens is our breathing rate gets faster because our stress hormones get dumped into our body. It's trying to say, hey, move away from that thing, like go, go. But then we don't. And so we hyperventilate, breathe more than normal, feel pretty shit, experience more anxiety, hyperventilate even more, increase the symptoms, and then it goes back around. And this is what happens. Honestly, we get stressed and we start to overbreathe. When we overbreathe, we experience more stress and we breathe out too much carbon dioxide. When we do that and we lose too much CO2, we actually can't push oxygen into our cells and our brain as efficiently. So when that happens, we get poorer oxygenation of the brain. That leads to poor decision making. We don't make great decisions because we're in a stress response. Then that leads to shitty decisions. And then we wind up getting undesirable outcomes. And then we look at those undesirable outcomes and we start to experience poor self-esteem. We're like, oh, I'm not making the right choices. I can't do. And then what happens is that poor self-esteem leads back to a shit state. And then we start to create beliefs about ourselves. All of our beliefs are formed in a certain state of being. And this is the cycle that people go on and they can't get off sometimes because they just don't know how to.
Yeah.
This is why breathing is your edge, because when you focus on your breathing, you can change your state, you can shift your thoughts and emotions. That means you shift your behaviors and then you can get lasting change.
Yeah.
And this is what I was saying before. These are the 3 different states of your nervous system, Sarah, when you were asking these questions, like, what do you do when you like get really stressed out? Well, that's hyperarousal. We get overreactive, thoughts become unclear. So then we use movement, breath work to come back down into our green zone. And then if we're down, well, then we can use breath work and movement to come back up into the green zone. We need to try and live life more in there.
In the green.
In the green, in the window of tolerance. So there is a really simple thing that you can actually do to assess whether you're over breathing. So all you do is step 1 is you calculate your breathing rate. So you would count the inhale and the exhales that you do in 30 seconds and times it by 2. That will give you the respiratory rate. Do you want to do it live?
Yeah. Do you tell us how to do it?
Yeah, 100%. So all you're going to do is not interfere with your breathing. Okay. So you don't want to be consciously going, I'm breathing. You want to just listen and feel for your body naturally breathing. Does that make sense? So you're observing your breathing. You're not consciously controlling it. And all we're going to do is count. In and out is 1. In and out is 2. That's a breath cycle. All right. So we'll do this for 30 seconds and then give me a score. So you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. 3, 2, and 1. So just letting your body breathe and just counting the breaths. In and out, 1. In and out, 2. I'll tell you when to stop.
Gosh, I think it's like giving me anxiety. I'm like, am I doing it right? I don't know.
Don't overthink it. Just count your breaths. You can't do it wrong, promise. And time. Okay, how many was that?
5.
5. So times that by 2 is 10. Okay, great. So here's what your scores are telling you. 5 to 8 per minute, you're like Zen master level. Like your body is oxygenating yourself really, really well. Your nervous system is going to be balanced. 8 to 12 breaths per minute is optimal at rest. That's where you want to be. Okay, so you're in there. You're in there. You're in a really optimal state.
I want to be Zen master.
Zen master. You can work towards this.
Gotta lose 2 breaths a minute.
And you look, it'll be different at different times of the day. This stuff isn't solid. It's not, stone and rock. It's like, it's malleable depending on what's going on. Okay. 12 to 16 per minute, you definitely want to pay attention. You're starting to overbreathe. 6 to 20 needs work. Now 20 plus per minute, you basically have a tiger chasing you 24/7.
It's so interesting because I've never seen here how many breaths I should be doing per minute. It's actually not that much.
No.
It's like not a lot of breaths.
It's very interesting when it comes to breathing. We call it the oxygen paradox. When you breathe less, you oxygenate your body more. Very
just
weird.
Deeper, just deeper breaths, or just your body has more time to flood with oxygen?
It's all down to carbon dioxide because we can breathe in more oxygen, more oxygen, more oxygen. But if we don't have enough CO2, one of the things that CO2 does is it takes oxygen that we breathed in and it takes it from our hemoglobin in our red blood cells. It's like the ferry that carries oxygen. And if we have enough CO2 in our blood, it lets the oxygen get off that ferry and into our cells. But if we've been over breathing and we don't have enough CO2, the oxygen stays binded to the hemoglobin and it doesn't release. So what happens is, and this is why people that are having an anxiety attack or a panic attack or an asthma attack, they breathe faster, 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 and it doesn't actually make it any better. It makes it worse because they're losing more. They're losing more. Yeah. So then what you do is you retest. So this is a quick intervention that you can do that basically reduces your breathing and elevates CO2 in your blood. So all you do is you place your finger under your nose and you just breathe so light in and out of your nose. You don't want to block the air coming out. You just want to make sure that it's so light that you would literally not even disturb a feather if it was there. And as you're doing this, what will happen is you will get a sense of air hunger. It should be just mild. It'll be a feeling of like, oh, I kind of want to take a bigger breath. Like this is less air that I'm normally taking in. So that's where you want to find. You just want to be reducing it to the point where you're feeling that feeling. You're starting to notice that where your body's like, maybe take a bigger breath. And then, yeah, keep lightening it then. Go even lighter. Just really soften it. Soft breathing, light breathing, gentle breathing. And you'll start to get this mild signal where it's like, okay, I kind of have this slight urge to take a bigger breath, but I don't need to. It's not too intense. That's where we want to be. So just keep holding that for a bit. You'll know you're doing this right too, because whilst there's that little bit of an urge there, there's also a relaxation response starting to happen. So your mouth might start to produce more saliva because we're kicking into more of a parasympathetic state right now. But there's also just that little voice saying, hey, time to take a bigger breath. We'll keep going a little bit longer. Doing really well. And then what we're going to do after this, Sarah, is we're just going to retest our breathing. Okay, 3, 2, 1. So just keep the mouth closed for a sec. Let your breathing return to normal through your nose as if you just normally would. I'm going to just take about 15 seconds here. And then we're going to do that test that we just did before. We're going to retest. So we got 10 before. We're going to see what we get now. All right. Are you ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. So just observing the amount of breaths that are coming in and out. In and out is 1. And time. Okay, how many that time?
3.
3.
Yeah.
Times that by 2, 6. So now you're Zen master level.
Woo!
Woo! And like worth noting too that the lower your breaths per minute, because you were at 10, so that's good. The lower you get, obviously, it's a lot harder to move the needle and get lower. But if someone was doing 20 breaths per minute and they do this exercise, this is
Yeah.
not abnormal to see them go, I'm down to like 8 from
Yeah.
20. It moves the
Yeah.
needle really fast. But,
Yeah.
you probably feel a little bit more calm and centered too after doing that.
It was super chill. Super chill.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's just the breathing effect that you can use to master your state. So there's a couple of things here in terms of freebies, and then I'm happy to answer any other questions you have. But this one
Yeah.
here is just my Instagram if they want to stay in touch. And then the second thing is a free gift here as well. So this is just a course that you can do totally free, and it takes you through 3 different breathing tests
I'm
that will
gonna
help
drop
you.
it in the chat, like in the, I'm literally
Yeah.
gonna drop the QR code in the chat for them. I
You
think I don't,
can,
can I do that? I don't know. Oh, not sure. I thought I could do that. Hold
let
on.
me, do you want me to put it in the chat for you?
Anyway, yeah, drop it in there, and I'll drop it in the chat box later for anyone. But I mean that it's been up there, so they should be able to scan it. You guys can scan the QR code there. But yeah, I was gonna
Let
try and
me
make
just,
it
I'll
a
just
bit.
drop this in for you as well, Sarah, in case you want it.
If I could drop.
Yeah, it's got 3 basic breathing tests in there where you can look at the speed of your breath, your tolerance to CO2, and then also your lung capacity. And then you can get a good idea on what you need to do to start improving your breathing
I
so that
feel
you can
super
feel.
chill.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm pretty chill. Obviously, like I was very chill before that, right? And this is, we're on a live stream, which means my heart rate is probably a little bit more than what it would usually be,
Yeah.
but I'm very chill. And now I'm
Yeah.
like, whoa,
Wow. How do I turn my
very
brain
chill.
back on a
This is
bit?
great. I could like just, I don't know. I just, I'm not tired, chill though. I'm not tired,
Yeah.
just so relaxed.
Yeah.
Cool. I have a couple selfish questions. So if anyone
Sure.
wants like any of his resources or breath training things, just comment freebie or guide or go to the QR code or whatever. I'll tag Chris in this as well, so he'll be in the chat. But I am keen to know because you guys grew your business really quickly, like over $1 million in just over 12 months or
It was
something.
about 18 months. Yeah.
Okay, 18. That's crazy. Like that is crazy, crazy quick. Tips, like top tips to getting a business off the ground. I'm guessing tip number one is state regulation.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, of course.
but
That's always number one. Like you've got to make sure that you're in the right state because the business is often a reflection of you. So, when you're in a better state, you're making better decisions, you're probably going to get better outcomes, I'm going to guess. But outside of that, when it comes to the strategy side of things, I think what really stands out for me is having a strong core offer
yeah,
where, you most definitely can articulate the problem that you solve for the person that you're solving it for. And outside of that, it's been doing events. It's one to many.
yeah,
Our entire business has basically I reckon about 85% has been built off events. And
yeah,
it's essentially like a 1 day event. I make an offer to a group. They come into our level one program. I make an offer to level two. I make an offer from level two to make, and I'm just making them offers along the way.
yeah,
And yeah, we've probably had about a 40% ascension model through each uh, stage of the process.
yeah,
And yeah, it would just be getting away from one to one and time consuming
yeah.
types of work.
Yeah, I like that. So number one, have a really clear offer on the outcome that you help people achieve.
Yeah,
Love that. Number two, selling one to many. Do you do this in person, virtual?
both.
Both? Okay, so you do like some months you'll do virtual sales events and some months you'll do in-person sales events?
Yeah, we just started doing virtual ones, and I basically have given away the framework that I've used to generate over $120,000 in 6 1 day events on the front end. And I basically teach that. And that sales event normally leads into a sales training for a couple of days where it's like people can come and learn. I'll teach you how to do this at your event with this framework so that you can make bank as well. Um, so yeah, we're in both space. Yeah.
I like
And
that.
what I would add to that too is once you make some money, stop trying to do it all yourself and put the right people in the right places to help you make more of it.
Cool. So really clear on your offer, selling one to many, having a clear ascension model. I really love this because this was a sticking point for me for quite a few years was just I kept chopping and changing the front end and I wasn't ascending anyone to back end offers, right? And first sale is the hardest sale as well. And all I'm doing is like spinning my wheels, chopping and changing the front end and never really clearly getting second sale, third sale. So I really love that really clear ascension model. And then the
Yeah,
last one is when you can if you have enough money to fix a problem, you don't have a problem. Stop trying to do it all yourself.
100%.
I love that. I love, love, love that. Guys, comment like, I guess just comment freebie if you didn't get the QR code or comment QR code or something if you want it. This was so awesome. I'm so relaxed right now. I don't know. I don't even think I want to work, but I don't want to work. I don't even know how to explain how chilled out I feel right now. Any final like key takeaway or shift that you would love to leave people with?
I think I think I've shared a lot of it in that space, but I
Yeah.
think yeah, coming back to the core principle of the message, it's like your business is a reflection of you. So you can't lead people as effectively if you want to. You can't lead your clients as effectively as you want to if you're not leading yourself and taking
Is
care of yourself.
I love that. I had to write that down. Your business is a reflection of you. I probably spelled it wrong, but anyways, this is amazing. Thank you so much, Chris. I really appreciate it. I'll add you to the group too in case you're not in here, and I'll
Yeah.
tag you in the group. But much, much love. Appreciate it. Peace of love, guys. Have an amazing week, and I'll see y'all later.
Thanks, Sarah.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.